Hello, it's Gary here from Rise of the Gay Cinephiles. Throughout our video nasty season, a trigger warning will be in place for sexual assault, animal cruelty, graphic violence, racism and other forms of bigotry as we discuss these films from a very different time. It may not apply to all of them, but it's best to keep the trigger warning here just in case. Enjoy the episode. Hello, welcome to Rise of the Gay Cinephiles, the show where we, two gay cinephiles who watch way too many films, discuss various themes and eras of cinema. I'm Gary.
And I'm Chris.
And welcome back to our Video Nasties DPP List season, the season where we're discussing all 72 films in alphabetical order. This week, expect disco music, bad dubbing, animal cruelty, that is very unnecessary, New York, Americans being bad, colonization, jungles, and plenty more. As we delve into C is for Cannibal.
Yes. I think you pretty much summed it up there. We are discussing the cannibal films that are on the list.
And thankfully, we got the worst one out of the way last week. Well, 2 weeks ago.
Which one was that?
Exactly. Devil Hunter.
Oh, was that a cannibal film?
Yeah. It was also known as The Cannibal.
It's a difficult, because there's lots of them. For some reason, they were incredibly popular. But yeah, these are the ones that begin with the letter C. So
yes.
These are the cannibal films.
There will be more to come as well as we go on throughout this season. But yes, these are the ones that start with Cannibal. But first, before we delve into some divisive films, what have we been up to?
We're watching a few films recently.
More Michael Haneke.
Yes, we watched Cachet, which was fantastic. Absolutely loved that film. We watched Benny's Video.
We did.
Yeah, very, very good. Very controversial. Quite.
Yeah.
I feel like it had something to say on the video nasty sort of censorship and but yeah, very, very well made. But yeah, what have your highlights been?
Those have been my highlights. Ironheart was a highlight. I think it's a show that deserves as much love as it can get because we know the nature of the internet these days, and it's just genuinely a really good show. And Gasp took place.
It certainly did.
Between now and the last episode. So if anyone's listening who came along to that, thank you very much for helping make it a rip-roaring success.
Yes, thank
you. An even bigger one than last year.
And of course, every film that showed at Gasp would be on our best films.
This is very true. This is very true. Don't usually do a low light, but I feel like we watched something so bad to the point that if we didn't mention it, we'd be cheating you, the listeners, out of some comedy. So we watched David Cronenberg's The Shrouds, at least half of it anyway.
I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed.
We haven't walked out of a film in a long time.
Yeah. It was, for me, a mess. Confusing. I had absolutely no idea what was going on. I didn't care about what was going on. It felt repetitive. It wasn't an enjoyable experience. There were lots of choices made, particularly with the acting, that I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I didn't get it.
A bit wooden, a bit weird, but not in a fun, interesting way.
It comes across as pro AI as well, which we are not.
No.
And the dialogue was absolutely... I know Cronenberg's credited for writing it, but I can guarantee you right now, that man did not write this film. That film was absolutely AI. I can imagine this is what Megalopolis was like, which we didn't watch.
Yes.
It's just a lot of shit.
It was thoroughly disappointing, and I was having the conversation with Gary afterwards, and you go into a film by a filmmaker such as David Cronenberg, and you're always going to think about what he's capable of. So he's made 5-star films. And you sit and you watch the film and you think, this is the guy who made The Fly. One of the greatest horror films of all time. Why is this so bad?
Yeah.
Why am I struggling so much to find something to appreciate in this film? It's so disappointing.
Yeah.
And it happens. Hell, it does happen. And a lot of the time when a real genius filmmaker makes a dud, it's sometimes the studio's fault or there's other factors. But this one, I think it's just all on Cronenberg.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's made decisions here that I don't understand.
Yeah. But, as always, we have a new release highlight every episode. And we came back from half of the Shrouds and we watched our new release highlight, which is Predator, Killer of Killers.
Yeah.
A new animated take on Predator, which works as an anthology. And it proves that Dan Trachtenberg knows exactly what he's doing with this franchise.
Yeah. What a fun film. I didn't really realise what it was about. I didn't know it was going to go down the anthology route. I just animated Predator. Very violent as well. Proper 18 certificate kind of violence. Despite being animated, you could do a hell of a lot more with animation. It looked really cool.
Yeah.
Characters were really cool. Just a real enjoyable film.
Yeah, and the best part is we still have another Predator film to come from Trachtenberg later this year. And in my opinion, he made the best Predator film with Prey. I'd say Killer of Killers is my second favourite Predator film. It's a franchise where there's been fun films up until now, but he's really figured out what to do to make something of it. Actually take it to its full potential. And that is putting Predators in different time periods with different cultures. It's interesting.
Yeah, it's thoroughly interesting. It feels like he's a filmmaker who really enjoyed Predator and wanted to put Predator in these situations. Like, well, wouldn't that be cool? Almost sort of fan fiction, essentially, but done really, really well.
Yeah, and the thing is, if anyone should be given Alien versus Predator to redo and do a proper good version, they need to give it to him. And who did Alien Romulus? Was it Fede Alvarez?
Yes,
who did
I believe so. Yes.
Give it to the two of them. Let them co-direct it, because clearly both of them know exactly what to do with both of these franchises.
Why is it always Alien versus Predator? Why is that always a thing?
Nerds love Aliens versus Predator.
Do you know what I mean?
Was it a game, a comic book?
It was an arcade game, I believe, back in the day. I assume just the same people own the rights to both. Is that right?
Both same studio.
Yeah, because I don't necessarily get why they're always pitted against each other. Why can't they work together?
I know. Well, we'll save
Cats
that for
and Dogs franchise all over again.
We'll save that for our Alien and Predator series, whatever that may be. But for now, bit of shelf love. Not much shelf love this episode, because we have one certain film in the middle of this episode that I feel like is going to take up a lot of time to discuss. So I'll keep it brief. Hour have released a few new things. 88 films have released a few new things. But I want to highlight the 4K release of Clueless that has been released this week, because we watched it at cinema and stunning. Absolutely stunning.
I love Clueless. Gary loves Clueless, and it's always a treat to see it on the big screen. But to see it in 4K, something that I'm coming round to noticing now. I'm slowly becoming that guy who's like, oh wow, that looked great, that did. But to see it on the big screen in 4K, amazing.
Yeah.
Just one of the funniest films, with incredible characterization and humor and style. It's camp. Okay, I don't have to sell Clueless to you, do I?
No. If you haven't seen it, then I don't know what you're waiting for.
Yes.
Go watch Clueless. But let's talk some cannibals. Starting in 1980 with Cannibal Apocalypse.
When they thirst for your blood, you'll know a new way to die. It's an epidemic of killing, turning the streets into a slaughterhouse and the city of Atlanta into a blood-soaked graveyard. It's the final unspeakable horror. John Saxon in Cannibals in the Streets, rated R.
AKA Apocalypse Domani, or Apocalypse Tomorrow. See what they did there?
Yes.
Difficult City, which is the working title. Cannibal Massacre. Cannibals in the City.
Hot Cannibal in the City.
Savage Apocalypse. Savage Slaughterers. The Slaughterers. Cannibalistic Impulses. Which sounds like a erotic thriller with cannibals, which sounds amazing. Savage Holocaust. Reveal Tomorrow, The Cannibals Are Coming. Live Target 2. Virus. Carnival of Hell. To Kill is to Survive. Apocalyptic Cannibals. Wild Pursuit. Invasion of the Flesh Hunters. And Asphalt Cannibals.
And Cannibals in the Streets, which I believe was actually one of the main titles for it.
The David Bowie and Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson. That'd have been a very different song.
What's his name? Mick Jagger. Mick Jagger song.
Out of those, I would say my favourite is actually Cannibals in the Streets.
Okay.
I think it tells you what it is.
Yeah.
Really.
I really like Invasion of the Flesh Hunters.
Yeah.
It's very B-movie. It might not suit the film, but I really like the title. You could tell with all of those titles, there's clearly different titles dependent on whether they wanted to market it as a taxi driver ripoff or a zombie/cannibal film.
Yes.
Two slightly different markets there that they wanted to play into.
Yeah, it's directed by Antonio Margheriti, written by Dardano Sacchetti, starring this. I can predict. I haven't discussed this with Chris, but Chris's pinup of the week: John Saxon,
Absolutely.
Elizabeth Turner, Giovanni Lombardo Radice, Cinzia Di Carolis, and it is about a pair of Vietnam War POWs who return to America carrying a dangerous virus that turns people cannibalistic when bitten, and their cravings spiral into havoc that sweeps the city of Atlanta.
Sick of watching John Saxon play handsome, manly men who kick ass? No, me neither. Luckily for you then, Cannibal Apocalypse has John at his most manly, but this time he's fighting cannibals. Or is it all just a Vietnam War allegory? You decide.
Well, John Saxon didn't know himself.
He had no idea.
He agreed to be in the film based on a poorly translated English version of the script, which omitted the cannibalism scenes and appeared to be a simple Vietnam War allegory. He found out about the actual content during filming and was so shocked he briefly considered dropping out of the film altogether, and he never watched it. As far as anyone knows, he never watched the finished film. It was prosecuted, and it is the first of pretty much all these films to feature disco music in its opening scene. During a violent war sequence. Wild.
Yeah.
Absolutely wild, the choice of music for these films on this episode. I think Cannibal Man has the most normal soundtrack, maybe. But another one of the films has one of the best soundtracks of all time. This is something. This is something. We get unprofessional doctors in this film who try to chat up John Saxon's wife, who's really concerned about him because of his Vietnam dreams.
It's a bit like Jingle All the Way.
It is a bit like
when
Jingle
John
All
Saxon's away.
Yes.
It's the creepy guy who tries to...
That is true.
John Saxon's just like everywhere.
He says, a medical professional says to John Saxon's wife, anyways, I've always said you should have just married me. But on a professional note, yeah, I'm sure he'll be fine.
It is even like lives in the suburbs.
Yeah.
Like, and he's like an everyday man, but also like a real tough manly man.
But I mean, yeah, it's a really good comparison. If we were doing a mix and match for horror culture shiver, we could have put the two against each other easily.
Yes. It's had what it is fundamentally, in my opinion. It's a Taxi Driver.
It is
rip off in a way that wanted to market it itself as a horror film.
Yeah,
really, it wanted to be a horror film, but someone had watched Taxi Driver and thought, this is the best film I've ever watched. Martin Scorsese is a genius. Mm-hmm. How can I incorporate Taxi Driver into my cannibal film?
Yeah, because cannibal films are starting to get really popular right now. So
yeah,
I need to capitalize on that.
Kind of a zombie film.
Kind of. It's
because cannibalism is
passed on by biting.
A
really interesting concept. I mean, it wants you to know it's a Taxi Driver ripoff because it has one awkward cinema scene with one of the vets in a beanie hat, just to remind you what this film's trying to be. But yeah, no, I agree. It is pretty much it acts like a zombie film. But I really enjoyed this. I thought it was unusual to have that sort of premise of people turning each other into cannibals. Yeah, the political commentary is extremely on the nose. It has no interest in being subtle. Neither does any of the other films on this episode.
No subtlety.
No.
Maybe Cannibal Man.
No, kind of. It's probably the most subtle, but that's saying something. It's just unusual, this one. I mean, we get hospitals for nervous disorders sign appearing and floating away on the screen for some reason when a character arrives at a hospital for nervous disorders. But that's an example of just like the complete lack of subtlety here. It kind of, I feel like it feels like the audience is dumb, which I don't know how to take because, like I said, I really enjoyed it. John Saxon has a brief affair with the girl next door.
Yeah, he bites her somewhere below the border, and she realizes she kind of enjoys it.
Yes,
it's very strange. I don't know if he filmed that part before the cannibal part. I'm assuming that was in the script that he got. Yeah, but it does have something to say, which is interesting. For me, I feel like it has something to say because Taxi Driver had something to say.
Yeah, no, of course, everything.
But I think I agree with John Saxon. It's actually interesting from a Vietnam War allegory kind of way. The fact that the PTSD, the sort of shame of the Vietnam War in many ways was brought home by people, and there were lots of Vietnam War films around that time that had a very similar thing to say about, you know, the sort of national shame in America of the Vietnam War and how that affects people back home, not just in Vietnam, which is incredibly interesting and fascinating. I don't know if turning it into a schlocky cannibal film is the most respectful way.
It does feel tacked on.
Dealing with that.
I will say, it does feel very tacked on.
With funky soundtrack over the top.
It does feel like they're last minute like, okay, what can get this film noticed? Let's put this in. But yeah, I mean, I can't really complain. It has some amazing dialogue. Some examples are, you'll go straight to hell if you don't stop telling these lies and acting like a hussy. He'll be singing through his arsehole when I get to him. And my personal favourite, don't say it because I'm really sensitive on Fridays and there's no telling what I might do. There's a really weird relationship with sex. As we mentioned, the affair with the neighbour. Also, there's a straight couple who don't really fancy a sneaky handjob in the cinema during the scene that makes you realise it's a Taxi Driver ripoff. So they go for all-out passionate sex instead, and it's lots of chest kissing until budget Robert De Niro takes a bite out of her neck and then is chased through Coventry Market by guys with motorbikes. So there's lots going for it, as you can tell. Best kill, I think, is the Doctor's tongue being bit off and his head being smashed in by a rock.
Yes.
But there's so much gore here. Like, there's a scene, and it's really well shot. And I know some of it's out of place, but a really good soundtrack. But there's one shot in particular that really stuck with me of a guy who's shot with a shotgun, and the camera comes out of the hole in his chest, and it looks so fucking good. So grimy, so grubby.
Yeah.
Which this film needs to be.
It's a grindhouse film.
It
at
is.
heart,
And
definitely.
John Saxon, despite not wanting to be there, still has all of his natural charm and charisma as well, and he's very entertaining to watch.
He's always great in everything he's in. This isn't even close to his worst film. That would be... Is it... Oh, which one is it? Hellmaster. Or Hell... Whatever it is. Yeah. So, yeah, he didn't watch it. That's fine. But it's... obviously, he's not with us anymore, but...
Yeah.
You should know that it's a good film.
Yeah. And Elizabeth Turner's great as well. She's very melodramatic, which is always fun.
Yeah, well, she's great in everything she's in. You know, Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf?
Yeah.
A Place in the Sun. The Flintstones.
Yes.
No.
It's a shame.
For many
we couldn't get
years,
Richard
I thought
Burton.
it was Elizabeth Taylor, but I was like, surely she's not in there. Obviously, being young and stupid.
Yeah.
And then I was like, no, Elizabeth Turner, not Taylor.
It's got an IMDb rating of 5.5 out of 10, a Letterboxd rating of 3 out of 5. My rating, I gave it 4 out of 5.
I gave it 3.5 out of 5.
Did this deserve to be on the list? Why do we think it's on the list? Let's be honest. Sex, violence, Vietnam War.
Yes.
Not
And
made
the
by a big
word
studio.
Cannibal.
And the word cannibal.
The word cannibal as well. You know, there's a moment with a handheld saw, quite gruesome.
Yeah, if we're
Like
going by
Gary said,
violence,
the
then...
shotgun blast. But yeah, I think for this episode, you're going to hear a lot, like the word cannibal automatically, you know, and there's a lot of really gruesome stuff that happens in all of these films we're discussing this week. But the word cannibal is a big no-no.
Yeah, and the alternative title for the next film.
Yes, yes.
They might have just might as well have just handed this film over to them. Its main title is, of course, Cannibal Ferox from 1981.
Help me! I'm here! Look, there it is, on the right.
AKA make them die slowly.
Come on, like, do you seriously like you? How far were we? 1981. How far were we into the video nasty thing at this point? Had it begun? It had begun, hadn't it?
I don't know. I think it's slightly later. These were, I think, you get a lot of films around this time that became video nasties, but you're looking at, I think, 83 when the VHS boom really started to take off. I think really early 80s you're still looking at...
So it was early 80s.
Yeah.
When it started. So yeah. Let's
But
say...
a lot of these random titles, not make them die slowly, but a lot of the random titles are for home, the VHS market, which is why a lot of them are so ridiculous or kind of make no sense, particularly when they're being marketed as sequels when they're not sequels. Because it's to, you know, obviously the internet wasn't a thing back then, so people would just pick up whatever sounded like the most gruesome and horrific film. So they would have these really over-the-top titles. So for Cannibal Ferox, like Make Them Die Slowly, you know, you might as well have just been called James Furman is a cunt.
Yeah.
You know, fuck the BBFC. It's also called The Last Cannibals, Woman from Deep River, Women from the Deep River, which is a play, I think. They were trying to make it sound like a sequel. Hunted by Cannibals, Cannibal Terror, The Revenge of the Cannibals, In the Jungle of Cannibals, Cannibal Tribe, The Cannibals Are Attacking, Holocaust 3, or Horror Cannibals.
Yeah. So for me, Make Them Die Slowly is
Slowly.
incredible.
Yes.
And that should have been the main title.
That is the title. I would watch that film in a heartbeat.
Should be discussing this in the M section. That should have been what it was called.
Yeah.
Without a shadow of a doubt.
Ferox is a Latin term for cruel, wild, or ferocious. It's a cool word.
Yeah.
And Cannibal Ferox is a cool title, actually.
Yeah.
It had, you know, either of those, I think, works really well. But Make Them Die Slowly.
Yeah.
What an amazing title.
But it also has a premise, not a premise, a tagline that kind of worked into Make Them Die Slowly. The tagline is, for the initial USA release, they raped and killed his sister while he watched helplessly. Now it's his turn to make them die slowly. Let me tell you right now, that resembles nothing that happens in this film.
That is not what the film
That is
about.
really weird that you would try and market the film on that.
Yeah.
When you have a pretty great cannibal film where people are torn apart in many violent ways, that would actually match up with Make Them Die Slowly. So,
Well, that is just...
Last House on the Left.
I Spit on Your Grave.
Yeah. No, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's what it's going for. It marketed itself as a rape revenge film.
When we all know there's a very specific film that this film is ripping off. And writer and director Umberto Lenzi knows this. Because there are many scenes here that are recreated from said film.
Yeah, it's...
Shall we say who's in it?
Yes, go on then.
Giovanni Lombardo Radice.
That's 2 films in a row.
Yeah. Lorraine Dissel, Danilo Mattei, and Zora Karova. And it's about 3 friends who embark on a trip through the Amazon jungle to disprove cannibalism, where they meet a pair of fugitive drug smugglers, forcing a vicious cannibal tribe to harvest cocaine.
Or, an intelligent brunette, aren't they all, drags her boring brother and sexy blonde friend to the Colombian jungle to research her podcast on cannibalism. Sadly for them, their white people bullshit has been overshadowed by a seedy drug dealer and his gormless pal who have managed to really piss off the locals.
Yes. The first of 2 films on this episode where we're talking about how Americans are arseholes.
Yes.
Absolute arseholes that are just forcing their way into these tribes, trying to make their life a misery, and they get what they deserve. Colonialism, everyone. So, yeah. The villain in this film, Mike, what a guy. He is almost a cartoon villain.
Yes.
Like, he is so over-exaggerated, so over the top. It's almost funny.
Yeah.
Like, he is such a bad boy, and there's no stopping him. Like, one of his first scenes, he's like, I don't drink, this is my speed. And then he just sniffs cocaine, whilst Pat, who was cast while Sybil Danning was busy, is like, oh my god, give me this man.
Yes.
She is... He slaughters a pig, and Pat is just like, yes, please.
Yeah, the character of Pat, she starts off as a sort of Samantha Jones type, but turns on her gal pal and the rest for this man.
Yeah, much like Alexandra Burke. She loves bad boys.
And that is something Samantha Jones would never do.
No.
She would never choose a man over her pals. But yeah, it plays on a lot of stereotypes, very one-dimensional characters. Very one-dimensional look at, unfortunately, Colombian people as well. There's a police officer at the beginning that's made to come across quite stupid and smelly and dirty. It's quite an offensive film in many respects. I do think it has the same message as a lot of the cannibal films, which is mainly mind your own business.
Yeah.
And they are all. It's a difficult one because a lot of these films market themselves as American productions because American productions make more money. So Giovanni Lombardo Radice, who by the way is the hunk of the film, is my top choice. Because he missed out on a Cannibal Apocalypse.
Yes.
He's a very handsome man. He was. So he was called John Morgan in the film, in the credits, because they wanted it to seem like an American production.
Yeah.
So partly that's why they're American, but also because of particularly the post-Vietnam War, but also America's history of colonialism, I think plays into it. Or at least we can take that from these sort of films. I do think maybe a little hypocritical of the Italian filmmakers to do that as well, because unfortunately a lot of European countries do also have a terrible history of colonialism. But it's an interesting aspect of these films. Ultimately, though, particularly with Cannibal Ferox, I feel the main purpose of the film is to horrify and make you feel a bit sick and to be, disgusting.
Yeah.
Which it does very well.
Yeah.
Because it has some incredible special effects.
It really does. Let's make something clear right now. I really, really enjoyed this film. I think it's funny to say, considering what happens in it, but it's like the lighter version of Cannibal Holocaust.
Yes.
And when I said that this is a film that's definitely ripping off another film, it is massively ripping off Cannibal Holocaust, which was out the year before, which we will be discussing next.
Yes.
But it literally takes scenes directly from it. Unfortunately, with that does come all of the animal violence, which obviously, if you know us, we do not condone that, and it is bullshit, because there's a lot of fantastic practical effects in this film for the human death and the human torture. Why can't you just do the same with the animals?
Yeah.
It's so unnecessary. Particularly as well, I believe a lot of real tribes were used within this film and the next film.
Yeah.
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 It's kind of like it's really weird that they would be, some of the animals that they kill in this film are perhaps animals that, and obviously we do see the tribes killing animals as well, which they would be using for food. It's weird having the American actors do it as well if it's stuff that they would have hunted for food. It feels really disrespectful. Again, makes the message of the film completely hypocritical. But the message in this film, in specifically this one and not Holocaust, is it feels so insincere. It feels it's literally just there because Cannibal Holocaust did it. I don't.
So many of these cannibal films feature these, because even stuff earlier films like Mountain of the Cannibal Gods. So many of these cannibal films feature this animal violence and death, and they set up scenarios where one animal will kill another, and it's you can say, well, it's nature and it's the natural progression of things. And if we watched a David Attenborough documentary, unfortunately these things happen, but it's for entertainment. It's not teaching us anything like a David Attenborough documentary would teach us and say this is nature. It's suffering and it's death on screen for entertainment, regardless of whether they ate the animals afterwards. We don't necessarily want to get into that argument, but what I'm saying is you're filming this and you're putting it out there
to make money off it.
But I don't think it's so that people can laugh or enjoy it. It's to repulse people, which is part of the entertainment of horror films. So you're still doing this for entertainment, and that's what I disagree with.
Yeah. I mean, people in the cast also disagreed with it. Like, Radius himself was supposed to kill an animal on screen, but refused to participate, and a double was used. And Lenzi tried to convince him to do it by saying Robert De Niro would do it, to which he responded to him, De Niro would kick your ass all the way back to Rome.
And he would know, he played him in the previous film.
Oh, yeah, exactly. But yeah, really weird censorship as well with this one, because we're in the UK, we have the UK Blu-ray release, and scenes like the snake eating the muskrat, it's really slow and awkward, and you can kind of hear it happening, which is kind of worse, really. You know it's happening. The monkey and leopard scene is slightly more graphic, but still curt. But then we see a giant tortoise being killed and a crocodile being torn apart without any sort of censorship, which is really weird.
Yeah.
But again, those are scenes where the tribe are doing it, so I don't know if it's viewed a little differently. The pig scene that the actor refused to do, we don't see any of that.
No.
So I feel like it is they're looking at it. The BBC are now because in this day and age, it's still not uncut. It's still cut now.
Yeah.
I think they're looking at it in a way that we could see the tribe doing it because it's what they would do to eat, but we're not going to see the Americans doing it or the animals killing each other.
Yeah.
But it's really odd and really jarring watching it and having those other scenes pop up, and you're like, well, I wasn't expecting to see that because everything up until now has been cut.
Yeah.
You know? It's really shocking.
I think ultimately for me, you can have a character be a bad person and, slaughter a pig, but you don't actually have to slaughter the pig on screen.
Well, exactly. The cut version, we see he slaughters a pig, but we don't see it happening. But
we
it
hear
still
the
does job.
noises and we know it's done.
Yeah.
We know he's horrible.
Yeah.
Done. But yeah, it's a very, very unfortunate part of these films. The only way I consider them making these choices is for entertainment, and that makes me feel very sad.
Yeah.
That these things happened in these films, because ultimately Cannibal Ferox is a very entertaining film. It's quite ridiculous at times. The dialogue is absolutely ridiculous.
It is.
Would you like to hear some of my favourite quotes?
It is one of those, well, as long as you take pictures of me, I don't care.
No. What? Do you get off on ecology? Huh, twat.
They love the word twat.
I didn't do that justice.
They love the word twat in this
but
film.
they pronounce it twat.
Yes.
Somebody says at one point they thought all white men were. Sorry, God. Stupid film. They thought white men were all fair and honest. Don't think they did. And while speaking about the tribes people, and there's also a conversation that goes, "There's something I can't figure out. What's that? I don't know." Thank you, Rudy. But yeah, the characters are very stereotypical. The brunette is the clever one. The blonde is the more saucy character, let's say.
They come together though, like especially when they audition for Eurovision.
Yes, yes.
They're worried they're going to be eaten soon and be made to eat other humans, so they sing a song together.
They do, for some reason they do.
Whilst trapped in a hole. We get more disco music in this one, like immediately as soon as the film starts. New York and disco, straight away. Pulls no punches.
It's a great soundtrack.
We get a porn star, first two films of him, Robert Kerman.
Oh, yes.
Lenzi had no idea that he was a porn actor, and said the man who was willing to slaughter animals on film said that if he knew Kerman was a porn star, he wouldn't have hired him for this or Eaten Alive, which he's also in. Jake Teague, the university professor, was also a porn actor and appears in both films. Umberto Lenzi draws a line at hiring porn actors.
And this is, and a can of worms here. But this is something we've discussed a lot of times on the podcast, is that we, as human beings, seem to be desensitized to violence, but not desensitized to sexuality.
Yeah, really weird.
It's so strange, because a lot of what we see with the BBFC as well is a lot of violent things are passed, but sexual things aren't.
Yeah, and let me tell you right now, this is marketed as being, at the time, the most violent film ever made. It's definitely up there.
It is.
Even, like, putting the animal stuff aside, the human stuff, the practical effects are so realistic to the point it leaves you question, like, how the fuck did they do that? And this is very much the same with the next film. It leaves you question how they did it. Like the castration scene, the hooks through the boobs, like, oh my god, my favourite death is the machete to the wig. That is something.
The scalping, the brains being eaten.
Yeah, oh my god, it looks disgusting. But fantastic. That's what we want, great practical effects. But you can't include this and then say you wouldn't hire someone for being a porn star.
Exactly.
That is fucking ridiculous.
Exactly.
There's also a lot of nudity in this film as well. So what is your deal? It's okay for you to release these films and make money off it. But if someone wants to make a career out of being a porn star, that's not okay.
Yeah, and that's,
right,
that's ultimately how things kind of are.
Yeah.
It's very, very strange.
Yeah.
Very strange.
Well, it has an IMDb rating of 5.1 out of 10, a Letterboxd rating of 2.7 out of 5, and my rating is 4 out of 5.
My rating 3.5 out of 5.
It is a good film.
It's
a good
film.
And you never know, ratings could be higher if certain things weren't present. Did it deserve to be on the list? Why do we think it's on the list? Anything with the real animal violence, I'm giving it an automatic yes.
Yeah. I mean, large hooks through breasts is
again
huge no.
Come on, make them die slowly. Mix of sex and violence and animals.
Yeah.
Come on. It's not going to fly, is it?
No.
Let's be honest. And for more of the same but better, it's Cannibal Holocaust from 1980.
New York City is only a day away from the green inferno of the Amazon jungle. 4 Americans plunge into the savagery of the Amazon jungle to film a documentary. They never come back. Are they still alive? If so, where are they? Shocking. Actually filmed in the Amazon jungle.
Starts this coming Friday at the Town Theater. Due to shocking scenes of violence, no one under 17 will be admitted.
AKA Amazon Cannibal, Cannibal Hell, Cannibalistic Doom, Extreme Panic, Brutal Cannibal, Cannibals, The Cannibal Massacre, Cannibalistic Burn Offerings, starring Karen Black and Betty Davis.
How in the fuck did they connect those two?
Terror in the Amazon, Naked and Torn Apart, In the Cannibal Hell, and just Holocaust.
To be honest, as much as it pains me to say it, because I think it's a shitty idea for a title, Cannibal Holocaust does the job.
Yeah, Cannibal Holocaust, it does do the job.
It's exploitation
effective.
101.
It's very exploitative. And this is something we'll talk about as we discuss the film, because this is one of those films where we could do a separate episode on. We could talk about this film for
There's a lot to say.
But it is the first instance of the filmmakers being a little hypocritical, using the connotations of the word Holocaust to sell a film that is meant to be about exploitative media. So
let's get the first bit out of the way.
Yes.
So it's directed by Ruggero Deodato.
Yeah.
Written by Gianfranco Slerecki and Giorgio Stegani, starring Robert Kerman again, Carl Gabriel York, Francesca Cardi, Luca Barbareschi, And it's about an anthropologist who ventures into the Amazon rainforest on a rescue mission where he recovers footage shot by a film crew documenting their disastrous encounters with local cannibal tribes, and it was prosecuted, of course.
Yes. Documentary filmmakers use death and destruction for entertainment purposes. No, it's not another YouTuber controversy, and there definitely won't be an insincere apology video.
I mean,
that
is the same thing. Somebody on my letterbox compared this to Birth of a Nation.
Okay.
Really?
In what sense?
In its controversy. This is apparently to them the second most controversial film of all time.
It's incredibly controversial.
It's very controversial.
It's incredibly controversial.
It's also the second highest grossing film in Japan in 1983 behind E.T.
Well, choices were made. I would have went to see both.
Yeah. Let's Cannibal Holocaust, the Extraterrestrial, or EC.
Easy.
CT. No, never mind. Let's give some facts. So 10 days after its premiere in Milan, the film was seized by the Italian courts, and director Deodato was arrested and charged with obscenity. He was later charged with murdering several actors on camera and faced life in prison. The cast had signed contracts requiring them to disappear for a year after shooting to maintain the illusion that they had died. The director contacted Barbareschi and told him to contact the 3 other actors who played the missing film team. When the actors appeared in court, alive and well, the murder charges were dropped. The iconic poster image for the film shows a native girl impaled on a stick, and in court, Deodato explained that the girl sat on a bicycle seat attached to the pole's base while holding a small pointed piece of balsa wood in her mouth. Fake blood was added afterwards. He commented that the girl was unusually calm and remained very still during filming. So, he now also says that he regrets everything he did. Mm-hmm. Especially the actual animal deaths.
Yeah.
And now I think he died a few years ago. He said once that he was stupid for including animals in the film the way he did. He would be correct. And most of the cast were opposed to the real animal death scenes. Sergio Leone wrote a letter to Deodato which stated, "What a movie. The second part is a masterpiece of cinematographic realism. But everything seems so real that I think you could get in trouble with all the world." He wasn't wrong. He also, Deodato, based the film on a film that he saw about a documentary crew who died whilst investigating cannibals in Africa. The documentary showed an instance he depicted on film was destroyed after its discovery. An Italian cable network claimed it had a copy of the film and was going to show it uncut, but it never showed it. Hence why it leads to certain things in this film. And yeah, and again, another thing to get out of the way. In a 2005 interview, there's a weird relationship with sex in this film. Carl Gabriel York said that while rehearsing the sex scene with Francesca Cardi, she suggested that they go out in the middle of the jungle and actually do it. He declined, saying he had a girlfriend back in New York. But in 2009, Cardi stated that the sex scenes were not simulated and that she and York were lovers off-screen during filming. Sadly, I think you also have a fact regarding sex around this film.
Yeah, unfortunately, this came out in Cursed Films. Is it on Shudder?
Yeah.
Cursed Films is an episode on the film. We haven't seen the whole thing, but unfortunately, one of the scenes shows the gang rape of one of the tribeswomen. Well, actually, it turns out that she was a child of 14 years of age.
Yeah.
And it was inconclusive as to how much she really understood of what was going on during the filming. There's also been a lot of talk about how a lot of the extras playing the tribes people weren't paid and therefore exploited for the film. The film has been in many ways interpreted as a film about exploitation. The exploitation of media, the way that media uses, very violent images to try and sell something. A lot of people see it like that. But the film itself also plays into those tropes.
Yeah.
Exploits people. It's very, very over the top. in its violence and its depictions of sexual assault. But ultimately, when you watch it, you are incredibly repulsed. It does exactly what it needs to do.
Yeah.
Because it's actually very well made.
Yeah. Again, like with Cannibal Ferox, I'm sure, especially if you've been with us since Horror Cult Trash Ever, we're probably heading towards 400 episodes now plus. I would hope you know that obviously everything we've just said, we don't agree with at all. It's a case of art, life imitating art, but with the through the responsibility of the artist. You know, the director doing all of this whilst putting his message out there is massively hypocritical, and he sounds like an awful person. For the sake of the podcast, separating the art from the artist, this is one of the greatest and most important horror films of all time.
Yeah. Yeah.
It really is. I mean, it kick-started the entire found footage subgenre. Now, obviously, we had Legend of Boggy Creek, which did something very similar. I think there was a film about drugs in the 60s that did something similar as well. You know, nothing really took off. They did these things, they were released, some people liked them, mostly they were massively unheard of. This comes along, director gets arrested, everyone thinks it's real. It's a big precursor to Blair Witch Project.
Yeah.
It's a big precursor to Ghostwatch. You know, Alien Abduction. These films that came out in the 90s that would go on to have a cult following now, they exist because of this film. Because of what this film did. Of course, War of the Worlds is the original, but through radio. This did it through film. And the way it does it with the structure of the film, which I think is incredibly effective. And it's very much a film of 3 parts. It's you're part of your jungle adventure to find these people. You're selling it to the TV executives and the footage itself. The footage itself is some of the most disturbing stuff I've ever seen in any horror film. Like, this is my 3rd time watching it, and I physically felt sick after. Like, not many films can do that to me, but I actually felt queasy. And the animal violence is heavy. It's really tough to watch. And we watched the director's cut where a lot of it had been cut out. The version he did because he regretted it. But still, so much of it's still left in there, and it's still so tough to watch. It is a miserable film. It is a sad, miserable film that it's definitely within the hopeless cinema genre. You know, especially when you look at the idea that these executives are like, no, we can broadcast this on TV. And then they watch the final bit, and I think their reaction, and I don't think it's a spoiler to say this, I think the majority of people who watch this, who listen to this, will have watched it, surely. But either way, I think you can kind of guess where it goes. You know, their deflated reaction after watching it is the audience's deflated reaction after watching it, and the horrific stuff that goes on. Because like Cannibal Ferox, all of the atrocities that happen to the human characters, as much as we hate them and we want to see them die horrible deaths, it looks so fucking real. It's, you can understand why this man was arrested.
Yeah. With Cannibal Ferox, and it's the closest comparison to Cannibal Holocaust.
Yeah.
With Cannibal Ferox, that dialogue is so campy and silly and stupid that it takes you away from that aspect of the film. With Cannibal Holocaust, a lot of the dialogue, a lot of the acting is actually very good.
Yeah.
And effective in many ways, because it doesn't try too hard with the dialogue, if you understand what I mean. It feels almost naturalistic. These
even with the dub,
these
even
characters,
with the dub,
yeah,
and that's rare for an Italian film with an English dub to be this good.
Yeah, these characters aren't huge characters.
Yeah,
they aren't. They feel real.
Yeah,
and I made a joke about it in my premise, but you actually feel like this could happen. You look at something like the Logan Paul controversy, where he used he went to a foreign country, used somebody's death to create something for entertainment, something that would be monetized for entertainment. So this isn't that far removed from reality.
Absolutely.
Now this film has not a single ounce of subtlety.
No.
Not one bit of subtlety. These characters are pieces of shit. The tribes people, they're all cannibals and they're all gonna, kill you, and it's not exactly a nuanced film. And however much Deodato was trying to make a point about media, it is difficult not to watch this and think, okay, well, you're kind of doing the thing that you're meant to be critiquing, yeah? If that was his intention. I've read up that he didn't intend for it to be that way, and then he's like, oh, he did intend, but it wasn't, he does see it as a horror film, or he doesn't see it as a horror film, because reality is shocking and disturbing, so how would it be horror? What I take away from the film, and I think everybody and this is why it's so controversial, is that everybody takes away something different from the film. I think it's very well made, but incredibly disturbing. It is. A very sad film. You do feel deflated after watching it. That, I feel, is his intention. Yeah. It is to make people feel sad, and one of the quotes is, I wonder who the real cannibals are. I think that's maybe a little one-dimensional, but it's something to think about at the end.
I think the most powerful moment in this film, and the film that you could show it to someone and they would understand the entire film just from the one clip, is the girl on the pole. And more specifically, when it shows you, I think it's Alan, the character, where he's there and he's laughing, and they're like, careful, you're on camera, and then he immediately changes and goes into his documentary maker mode, and it's like, oh my god, it's so shocking. And it's like that one moment there that tells you everything you need to know about this film's messaging.
Yes, which is great. But then there's 5 other moments similar to that where they've created these atrocities, where they've been part of the atrocities that they're meant to be documenting. Yeah. It's not a documentary on the tribes people, because what's happening with these tribes people isn't what the tribes people have done. It's what these filmmakers have done, if that makes sense. That's a very wonderful moment in the film for the audience to be like, oh, okay. But it then takes it so much further and pushes it. And I don't think that's a terrible thing. I think a little bit of more nuance would have been great for me personally. But that does not take away from how effective the filmmaking is. Like, it's an incredibly well made film. Yeah. And let's talk about the soundtrack.
It's easily one of the top 5 best horror soundtracks of all time.
Rolling Stone named it the 5th best horror soundtrack of all time.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah, it's a strange one, because you assume that it would be heavier.
It fits with the documentary.
It fits
side of things.
Very well.
So smooth and relaxing. I mean, there are moments where it's not, and those moments add to the dread so much. It's a soundtrack that knows what it's doing, because you have your typical horror moments of the score, but it's that main theme that really sets the tone to throw you off, and I think it's what makes it more uncomfortable.
Absolutely.
As well, especially during some of the scenes where it's used. It genuinely, and as much as I hate to say it about a film made by such a terrible person, it's a work of genius. Yeah. It really is.
And the two things can be true. In my opinion. Cannibal Holocaust can be an incredibly effective and well-made film. But I can also disagree with the way that we got to that final product. because in my opinion, there are different ways
Yeah.
to go about that. I think it is, separating the art from the artist, because there's also other aspects of the film that are amazing, which is the soundtrack, which is the special effects.
Yeah.
Some of the acting, moments for some of the acting in terms of being in peril, which is, I think people don't give enough credit in horror films.
Oh, no, absolutely.
Because Jamie Lee Curtis made her career from that. It
Yeah.
wasn't the moments where she's all virginal talking to her friends that we necessarily remember from Halloween. It's when she's screaming and she's running and she's scared. And that's not the easiest thing to do.
It's true. And I
if
think
you've seen Friday the 13th Part 3.
Well, yeah. And I think those convincing performances and the way it utilises found footage. Now, I don't think it's the best found footage film of all time. I think it's in the top 10. But I think it's the most effective found footage film because of the way it's used.
Yeah.
And the way it's edited into the film. That does make you feel like you're watching something you shouldn't be watching. It feels like a snuff film.
Yeah.
And again, those performances are a big credit to that. So are the realistic practical effects. And I think because of all those ingredients, I think it's a film that is timeless and will never lose its ability to shock, disturb, and horrify new viewers.
Yeah.
I feel like it's always going to be that film. It's like The Exorcist. I don't think The Exorcist ever loses that touch. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre never loses it. And because of the way these films are made, and because everything in them is so advanced and so ahead of their time, it's the beauty of horror films. It just transcends across time.
Yeah.
And, you just put this, because of, as well, like you said about YouTube is a very good comparison, because if you put this on for the YouTube generation, but just the found footage segments, then you put it on the fucking dark web, people believe it's real,
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not that I'm associated with the dark web. It's just the only reference I've got. But yeah, I don't want to. It's weird. The final word I want to say on it is it's weird to say I love it. It's weird to say I enjoy it. I appreciate it. I really, really appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's. You do become desensitized to horror films over time when you watch as many as me and Chris do. And to have that effect on a third viewing on me, not many films can do that. So hats off. It's a masterpiece. I'm sorry. It is. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's
Also has a lot more cocks in it than you'd expect.
Well, there is one thing, and I do wonder how many funny moments we can point out. Because at our heart, this podcast, we do want to keep quite light.
Yeah, my notes usually consist of funny moments.
Yeah.
I haven't got many notes for this.
But it is one thing that's a theme throughout the first portion of the film, is that in order to gain the trust of the tribespeople, they just always have to get naked.
It's true.
I don't know why.
For one of them.
Oh yes, who's the hunk of the film, Gary?
It is Robert Kerman.
Robert Kerman, yeah.
No wonder he had a successful porn career.
Got a nice moustache. Yeah, he was a bit of a daddy, I feel.
Yeah, and it's not often you hear Chris say that word.
No,
so
it's not actually.
it's something special.
What's the ratings?
Well, best death. It's got to go girl on a pole. Even though you don't see it happen, the aftermath is so brutal. I think it has to go to that.
Yes, yeah.
IMDb gives it 5.8 out of 10. Letterboxd gives it 2.7 out of 5. And if you looked at that chart on Letterboxd, it is so inconsistent. And it's one of those where everyone's opinion is actually correct.
Everyone's valid.
Fully valid.
Yeah, absolutely.
My rating is a 4.5 out of 5. And if it wasn't for those controversial aspects, it would be one of the easiest 5 stars I've ever given.
I give it 4 out of 5.
Yeah. Did this deserve to be on the list?
Yes.
Why do we think it's on the list?
This is the video
Refer
nasty
back to everything
of all
we just
video
said.
nasties.
Yeah, it is.
Like, this is
It
the
is.
one.
Everything they want.
I don't think there's a scene in this film that didn't make the BBFC cry in horror.
Yeah. This is one of those films where
everything.
Mary Whitehouse's little compilation that she showed in court, she could have just stuck a pin in any part of this film and there'd have been a moment there for her.
Exactly. Absolutely.
Cannibal Holocaust, do I recommend it? If you are a horror fan, I don't hope you've already seen it. It's
but do
tough.
your research. I would say it's one of those things you have to do.
Look
your
at the content
research.
warnings. Listen to what we've just said. We haven't spoiled it too much for you. Just know what you're going into, especially the animal scenes. It's more inconsistent censoring with the director's cut, like with Cannibal Ferox. But regardless of which version you watch, there are tough scenes here involving animals, and
humans as well.
Yeah,
like, really just.
But in comparison to obviously all the other cannibal films that have used animals in, this is the most brutal and upsetting out of all those. I will say.
Yeah, true.
Onto something a little lighthearted. Here's a film about a gay serial killer. It's The Cannibal Man from 1972.
Marcos.
Does this man discover the dark secrets of the Cannibal Man? The Cannibal Man soon comes to this theater.
AKA Week of the Killer, The Week of the Assassin, The Diary of a Murderer, The 13th Floor Apartment, The House of Bloody Horror, and Cannibal Man, A Murderer's Week.
Yeah. Written and directed by Eloy de la Iglesia, a gay man.
Oh.
Co-written by Antonio Foss. Starring Vincent Parra, Emma Cohen, Eusebio Poncella, and Vicky Lagos. And it's about a meat factory worker who accidentally kills a taxi driver and begins gradually killing people close to him in order to cover up his original crime. He starts getting rid of the mounting corpses stored in his bedroom for his day job.
When Marco, who is not a cannibal but is a man, accidentally kills a taxi driver, he does what any self-respecting person would do. He calls the police. Oh wait, no, he doesn't. He actually goes on a killing spree, stopping only to partake in some homoeroticism with his next-door neighbour, Nestor.
I mean, yeah, pretty much. And forces everyone else to be cannibals.
Cannibal Man is not a correct title.
No.
So my favourite title is Week of the Killer. Because it's true.
Yes.
Yeah. And, Week of the Killer. Almost giallo, I feel.
I would go with Week of the Killer as well.
Week of the Killer,
yeah.
Yes.
Or even Week of the Assassin, even if it's not accurate.
Well, Assassin is incorrect. He's a killer.
Yeah.
He's a killer. But yeah, fantastic film, actually.
Really interesting stuff. This is the first ever Spanish film to depict an openly gay relationship amongst its protagonists. It also,
relationship?
Well, I mean, technically, yeah.
Yes,
technically.
Nestor is a gay character.
I mean, there is that homoerotic pool scene. So, yeah. It was also the first film to use the vomit bag gimmick, which offered free bath bags with cinema tickets to increase the sales of the violent film.
Unnecessary.
Unnecessary, but fun.
Yeah, but I would say this film is more nuanced than the title and the poster would have you believe. It's a film about, closeted homosexuality. Yeah. It's a film about fascism and living within the fascist Spanish state at the time. It's about, class. His, Marco's isolation and his class status play into his mental breakdown. He is a killer. he makes many, many, many wrong decisions, but you do almost feel sorry for him at times.
Yeah.
It's slow, but
It
it's
is a slow
deliberate.
burner. Yeah.
And it's incredibly intriguing.
Yeah.
It really doesn't live up to the Video Nasty title. It's one of those where you're sort of like, oh, okay, I was expecting something different.
It's a character
but
study.
I like what I got.
Yeah. Like The Witch Who Came From the Sea, which we'll discuss many episodes along the line. It's a dark character study.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's one with layers, plenty of layers.
Yeah.
Now, like I said, it could kind of come across that he forces people to be cannibals, considering he works in the slaughterhouse and that's where he disposes of the bodies.
Yeah.
But realistically, we don't see any cannibalism in the film.
No.
The only one of this episode, I'm actually quite surprised, because you know they love misleading titles in the Video Nasties. This is more akin to Deranged and Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer for me.
Yeah.
It's really grubby. It's really unsettling. The kills are grisly and disturbing, and it all packs a punch. You know, the queer side of things, so ahead of its time. Nesta is so likable. It's a very likable character. I love the dynamic between the two of them. And, you know, he hides bodies in his closets, Marcos, the lead character.
Yes.
It's all, again, no subtlety. This episode contains no subtlety within any of its films. This is the most subtle out of all of them.
Yeah,
but
overall.
But still, the guy is a homosexual who hides bodies in his closet. But he has a girlfriend as well. He's bisexual. He's bisexual. If the pacing, again, kind of like Cannibal Holocaust, if the pacing had been better for this one, this is the thing that's stopping it getting 5 stars from me. I'd give it 5 stars. It's just a groundbreaking piece of cinema that more people need to see, that has been diminished because of its Video Nasty representation. Whereas I think some films, it works in their favour. Cannibal Holocaust. In fact, the previous 3 films we've just spoke about, and the next one, we know mostly about them because of their Video Nasty status, and it works with them. It fits them. This, though, I do feel like it takes a bit away from what it actually is, like you said. I feel like if this wasn't a Video Nasty, it would be a little more renowned. And it really deserves to be. I hope more people pick it up and discover it, because it's great. It's just really fucking good. The acting is great. The cinematography is really good.
Yeah, it looks great.
The soundtrack is fantastic, because not just the score, but also the sound design and the sound of flies, which is used during a few really effective moments that really builds that sense of dread in such an effective way that always works. I really, really love this film. I really can't recommend it enough. And it's clever.
Yeah.
It's clever. That's the biggest compliment I can give a Video Nasty is it is clever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's. I completely agree with Gary. It is one of those films that maybe the Video Nasty status kept it from becoming a real cult classic.
And being called the Cannibal Man.
Yeah.
How would you expect to take a film seriously called the Cannibal Man?
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous that they chose that title. But, you know, hopefully more eyes... It's a difficult one, because if it wasn't a Video Nasty, we hoped that it would become a cult classic. But it being a Video Nasty means we got the chance to watch it.
That's true.
So it's swings and roundabouts.
I mean, the director is fairly... not prolific, but he has a few films that I believe are cult films. He is the director of Alpico, Pals... Naveros, the tobacconist of Vallecas, films that look incredible, and films that I really want to see, and I want to see whether he puts his homosexuality into these films as well, or whether the Cannibal Man is that film. It is just that film for him. I mean, I can't tell from any of these posters whether or not they're gay. But, you know, at least amongst my letterbox anyway, these films seem to be fairly known.
Yeah. This is... This is his most popular
most popular
film, though.
film, yeah.
It's got the most reviews and ratings on Letterboxd.
Yeah. I mean, something like Alpico, it's just Overdose, has a 3.7.
Yeah.
So, and...
Quite highly regarded.
Yeah. But yeah.
Well, what does this have?
Well, we'll find out soon, but I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued to see more. And I think a few more watches of this may make me come around to it even more. Because I think, again, when you're watching a video nasty, especially when you're watching it for a podcast episode, or if you're watching it just because of its title, you're going to expect a silly time. And when you're given a slow burn, it kind of gives you a different... I don't know. It's a little disappointing, isn't it? Despite how good the film is, when you're watching something called The Cannibal Man, you're expecting to see a man running around eating people. But I digress. That's more of a me thing. My favourite death of the film is the iconic meat cleaver to the face.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Practical
one.
effects are amazing.
It's the one that's used. There's not a huge amount of deaths. It's not completely over the top. But they are somewhat gruesome, actually. But that one in particular.
Yeah.
And that was used for the poster.
Yes,
so,
understandably so.
Yes.
It has an IMDb rating of 6.3 out of 10. A Letterboxd rating of 3.4 out of 5. And I gave it 4 out of 5.
Yeah, and I gave it 4 out of 5 as well. And this is one of the ones I would highly recommend.
You know who would do it?
To maybe non-traditional horror film
no,
fans.
definitely. If I mean, the modern sense, you'd say A24 horror fans.
Yeah.
If this was remade now, Luca Guadagnino would definitely do it.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
he would do a good job of it as well. It's a sweaty film, and I think he does sweaty films very well.
Yeah, I mean, tonally, doesn't even feel that dissimilar to Queer.
No, that's
like
true.
with its sweatiness. And...
Yeah,
but yeah, did this deserve to be on the list? Why do you think it's on the list?
One word: cannibal. That's why it was on the list.
To give you a second one, gay.
Yeah, that's true. But I think the moment they heard a film called The Cannibal Man, they were like, okay, it's on the list. And it's gay as well. Oh, no, sorry.
Yeah. Meat cleaver to the face on the cover.
I'm assuming they wouldn't have understood the nuances, but the gay neighbour would have been the issue.
Yeah. Did it deserve to be on the list, though? Absolutely fucking not.
No, not at all.
No. And that brings... Oh, did you have a hunk?
I suppose it would be Marco himself.
Yeah.
Wasn't a huge fan of the hair.
No.
It was a bit Alvin Stardust.
Well, I'd hope that once he came out of the closet, he would sort that out.
But yeah, I quite like the sideburns. He's kind of shirtless through quite a bit of it as well. So we'll give it to him.
Yeah.
Speaking of sideburns,
our final film, and we saved the worst for last. It's Cannibal Terror from 1981.
More horrible than anything you can imagine. So cruel, you can hardly bear it. Cannibal Terror. You will never forget it.
AKA Horrible Cannibal. That's very, very fitting.
I mean, yeah, it's true. They're not very nice.
AKA Man-Eating Terror, the terror of the cannibal, basket cannibals.
What the fuck is that all about?
And just cannibals.
So many of the films have shared a name on this list.
Yeah, true. It must have been very confusing back in the day.
I love Basket Cannibal. Stupid. No idea why it's called that.
No.
Doesn't make any sense.
It might be because obviously we're translating these into English. Basket may mean something else. But Basket Cannibals doesn't quite make sense to me. I'm going to go with Man-Eating Terror.
Okay.
Because, do you know what? Actually, and I thought this would happen, I'm kind of sick of the word cannibal now.
Yeah.
I'm sick of saying it and hearing it.
Yeah.
So let's go with Man-Eating Terror. It's does the same thing.
Kesha in a studio recording Cannibal.
Yeah.
Directed by Alain Deruelle. an uncredited Olivier Maffot, and an uncredited Julio Perez Tabanero. I wonder why they wanted to be uncredited. Written by Julio Perez Tabanero, H.L. Rostein, and, of course, like the end of last episode, when he was credited with a different name, an uncredited Jess Franco.
But is that because they stole and so they had
Maybe.
So it's a bit like Ed Sheeran. No, who was it? Ed Sheeran that had to give writers credit to Marvin Gaye.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of thing. So this is...
Well, it's starring... Oh, do you want to give that... Talk about it now?
Just a little bit. So this is a French and Spanish production.
Yes,
so this is the French take. I think it's more French than Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the French take on the cannibal film.
Yeah. And if you were wondering what a French take on an Italian cannibal film's like, end your curiosity. Don't even look it up. Don't find out. You don't want to know. Starring Sylvia Sola. What a name. Topped only by Sylvia Superstar, who sadly isn't in this film. Pamela Stanford, Olivier Maffot, the uncredited director, and Antonio Mayans. And it's about... After botching a kidnapping, 2 criminals hide with their victim in a friend's house in the jungle. After one of them rapes the friend's wife, they are left to be eaten by a nearby cannibal tribe.
In this French twist on the cannibal film, we're treated to some groundbreaking additions to the genre. Low-cut tops and sideburns.
And the woods.
And the woods, yeah. The fact that it's not in a jungle.
It wasn't prosecuted because no one could be bothered to sit through the whole thing to see it needed to be prosecuted.
It starts off well. I have to say, it starts off well, but it loses it really quickly. The soundtrack is what's really stuck out for me because it's absolutely wild.
It is.
It's carnival one moment, then slow piano, and then a sentimental like Golden Girls like
It
number.
sounds just like the Golden Girls.
Like Gary said whilst we were watching, it's like that sounds like the Golden Girls when
Yeah.
they transition to
There's
a
no
different...
consistency at all. Of course, you get some upbeat disco music at the start of the film, but it kind of sounds like disco music made for a travel show. It sounds like this thing Cruising with Jane McDonald. Some amazing facts. When the film was shown at Cannes, that alone is hilarious.
Well, I think it's like off of Cannes because actually, you know, the last horror film, the one with Caroline Munro, that's about the Cannes Film Festival. So I think there are some like B movies that get shown there.
Well, the audience laughed throughout the entire film. At the end, the producer stood up and spoke to the audience, furiously stating, "Here's the man responsible for this botch up," and then proceeded to bring the director onto the stage. Filmed at the same time as Jess Franco's Mondo Cannibal, this was done at as the producers felt it would help keep costs down using the same sets and same actors as the cannibals for both films. Whenever Franco and his crew stopped shooting their film on a set with the actors portraying the cannibals, Deruelle and his crew would start filming Cannibal Terror on the same set with the same cannibals. When told about the film being banned in the UK, Deruelle replied the exact words, "They're a weird lot, those Brits." Girly, come on.
It should be. This is probably the first one where I think it probably should have been banned for being shit.
The first line of dialogue is, "Don't you know how to open a fucking door?"
The dialogue is funny. I have to give credit. The dialogue is funny, and it does start. It starts off well. It's a bit campy.
Does. Michael Parkinson's
it's silly.
in it.
It's a bit. It's very stupid.
Michael Parkinson spends ages making his daughter, voiced by a middle-aged woman, guess that he made her a paper pop-up of a cat.
There's a very cunty woman in a very low-cut top.
Yeah.
She's got a really low tolerance for bullshit as well. I enjoyed that.
Lena is so cunty.
Is that the one? I cannot.
Lena's the one
names.
with the kidnappers.
She's the one that.
Yeah, when they're like, the king of thieves, men are such a big deal, and they say, "You mind your ass," and she says, "My ass is go fuck yourself."
She's kind of giving Saturday Night Fever, but she's meant to be in the middle of the jungle. Like she's like Carrie Bradshaw of when she went to the farm and she's like, I haven't got flats, I have to wear heels.
Yeah. Some amazing bits of dialogue. Nice thighs. You could say that again. Nice thighs.
Yes.
And my personal favourite, flippity floppity boobies. An actual line of dialogue from this film.
Yeah.
Cannibals, though, they're doing their best, kind of.
They're not, because we get very half-assed tribal dancing.
Which looks like Dua Lipa dancing.
Sadly, we do get blackface.
Yeah.
A lot of white actors with huge sideburns. Like, I don't know what they were thinking, but these actors, white actors with sideburns, they've got sadly, they've got the makeup on, and they looked bored. They looked like they had no idea what they were doing. I think they were probably given no direction whatsoever. The
lead guy looks like Tommy Wiseau.
He does.
It's baffling. It's a baffling film. I really... Because, I mean, the cannibal scenes where they're actually eating is genuinely disgusting. Props to them for the practical effects.
I think it's just meat.
I feel like it is.
I think it is just meat.
But in the context of the film...
Is that cheating a little bit if you just throw some animal, innards on top of a dummy? I feel like it's cheating just a little bit.
Perhaps. I thought it was turned into a rape revenge Last House on the Left ripoff. But never mind. The woman who was raped, I got in my notes, she's now dancing and having a lovely time and suggesting they all strip.
It's, really. And I think potentially this is an editing choice. I don't know. Or an editing mistake. But we do have a rape scene.
Yeah.
It's not integral to the plot.
No.
Whatsoever.
No.
It's completely unnecessary. And then, like Gary said, the next time you see the victim, she is having a great time and she's dancing and it's like nothing happened. Now that's insulting.
It's really insulting.
That's really bottom of the barrel bullshit there. We hate it. There is no place for it. If you're going to show this, if this is going to be part of your film, you damn well deal with it.
Yeah.
And you talk to the audience about it. Obviously this is not the case in this film, and it leaves a very sour taste in the mouth.
It does. I mean, especially means the villains are already established as kidnappers.
Yeah.
We know they're villains. It's okay. You don't need to include this.
Yeah.
Saying that, the kid who's kidnapped is so happy to have been kidnapped.
She
looks happier with them than she does with her family.
She's having a wonderful time.
They saved her from neglect, and when she's returned to her family, spoiler, whatever. When she's returned to her family, I mean, she looks disappointed.
Yeah.
And of course, we're given celebratory travel show music when she is returned. To her family.
That voice was getting on my nerves. Oh,
poor middle-aged woman.
Ultimately what started as so bad it's good just quickly became really tedious and boring. Like, it's the bit apart from being actually offensive, but in terms of quality, the most offensive thing you can do is bore me.
It's a result of these films becoming so popular to the point that they just churned them out one after the other,
and threw cannibal in the title, and I thought it would sell. And this is absolutely one of those films, and we've had a few so far, and we'll have many to come, that would have had no attention whatsoever if it wasn't a video nasty. True. It wouldn't have gotten on Blu-ray. It would have been lucky to get a DVD release. But because it was a video nasty, again, it's the Streisand effect. They've brought attention to this god-awful film. Yeah. And now it's, in some ways, stood the test of time because we're now sat here talking about it. Yeah. Because some uptight people 40 years ago thought they could tell people what they could and couldn't watch.
Well, the people now aren't the biggest fans of it. The IMDb rating is 2.5 out of 10, and the Letterboxd is 2.2 out of 5. I give it 1.5 out of 5 because that first half is entertaining.
Yeah, it's such a shame because it does go downhill, but I gave it 1.5 as well.
Did this deserve to be on the list? Why do you think it's on the list? It's on there because it mixes sex and violence, and it has cannibal in the title again. Simple as that.
Yeah.
Do I think it deserves to be on there? I mean, no.
Not really. I think in comparison to particularly the films we've discussed this episode, it's a bit tame. And it's a bit lame. And aspects of it you've probably seen in bigger budget films that were nowhere near the Video Nasty list.
Yeah.
Just, I suppose, all that meat as well. Maybe, and cannibal in the title, but I'm done talking about it now.
That's all from us for cannibals for now.
It is.
How about That Could Have Been a Nasty, a modern film that would have made it onto the list?
Oh, wait, no. That isn't a stone with cannibals.
For now, I said. Oh, well, yeah. Then these.
Because my choice is Green Inferno.
And my choice is Fresh.
Yeah.
Both cannibal films. Both modern cannibal films. Special honourable mention, though, to Welcome to the Jungle, which was actually a Cannibal Holocaust homage. Full found footage, portraying a documentary in which some people go looking for Michael Rockefeller, the sort of New York governor, Nelson Rockefeller.
Okay.
Who actually went missing in real life.
Oh, is that that's exploitative, isn't it?
Yeah, they go looking for him, found footage, they find cannibal tribes, so on.
What year is this?
2007.
2007.
Produced by Gale and
Oh,
Hurd.
so it's not the Dwayne Johnson film?
No, it's certainly not. That's very different. But it's produced by Gale and Hurd, who produced Terminator and Aliens. So, yeah.
Okay.
That exists.
Welcome to the Jungle.
And would probably be on the Video Nasties list.
It's got a 2.7.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah.
Have you watched this then?
I have seen it.
Wow.
It is not very good.
I was going to say, you sort out these things, didn't you?
3 stars, I think I gave it. But anyway, you can find us on also. Why Green Inferno? Why would that be on Video Nasties?
Because it that is pretty
Cannibal
much
Holocaust.
an homage to Cannibal Holocaust. It is in some ways almost a remake, but it's definitely highly, massively inspired by the cannibal films. It's very violent. It's very shocking.
And it's directed by a piece of shit, just like Cannibal Holocaust.
Yeah, Eli Roth, I feel, has made a career of trying to recreate these Video Nasty films. It's been a while since I watched it. I didn't, for this throwaway segment, I didn't feel like watching it again. But if you've seen the film, you know why.
And Fresh, maybe a big budget film with big actors, but it's also a film that mixes sex and cannibalism, so I feel like it wouldn't have escaped the list. It'd have at least been section 3.
Absolutely.
You can find us on all social media by searching the name of the podcast, and if you could give us a rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to this, that would be lovely. Next week, it's D. It's for don't. So next week, we're telling you, don't go in the house. Don't go in the woods alone. Don't go near the park. And don't look in the basement, for fuck's sake. Bad things happen.
Yes, but don't miss the episode.
Exactly. We'll be back at the same time, same place in 2 weeks' time.
Bye.